This is the story of the Barron Barn from McArthur, North Dakota. By chance, I came across this old newspaper article about a barn in Pembina County, North Dakota. The article said G.L. Barron is building a barn in an L shape, and the carpenter was the same one who had built a barn for James J. Hill at Humboldt, Minnesota in 1912. Since James J. Hill of the Great Northern Railway is a Minnesota icon, I was hooked. The Great Northern Railway was a northern transcontinental railroad which was anchored in St. Paul, Minnesota. However, James J. Hill put a lot of emphasis in the Red River Valley, knowing it was prime farmland for settlers. To show farmers they could have success farming in the Red River Valley, Hill himself had a farm at Humboldt, Minnesota, which was in the far northwest corner of the state. Humboldt was in Kitson County, where most of the initial settlements were along two railroad lines. The Great Northern Railway tracked from Donaldson through Hallock to St. Vincent and Noyes. The Sioux Line tracked from Carlstead to Lancaster to Noyes. James J. Hill had two big farms along the Great Northern Line, one at Humboldt and another at Northcote. The farm at Humboldt was the one mentioned in the old newspaper article. Going back to that article, it said that G.L. Barron of McArthur was building the barn to perpetuate his memory as well as be a model for others to follow. George and Elizabeth Barron had come to Pembina County from eastern Canada. In 1913, when the newspaper article was written, George would have been 61 and Elizabeth 49. The Barrons had 4 children, 3 boys and a girl, which included Arthur, Gordon, William, and Jesse. McArthur was a tiny town in the northeast corner of North Dakota, basically right across the Red River from James J. Hill's farm at Humboldt. The first railroad line to the west of the Red River in Pembina County served McArthur, and that was the Northern Pacific Railroad. Let's take a closer look at the area within the black rectangle, or the area around McArthur. The areas highlighted in yellow were lands owned by George and Elizabeth Barron, and the blue star shows the location of their farmstead. The newspaper article said the Barrons built an L-shaped barn. The main section of the barn was 40 feet wide by 96 feet long and was built for horses. The L portion of the barn was 38 feet wide by 80 feet long, and it was built for cattle. As far as height, the barn featured 18-foot high posts, and it was 41 feet to the gable. The cost of the barn was $7,000 in 1913, which would correspond to about $250,000 in 2024. The head carpenter was Sigurd Anderson from Glasgow, Montana, who was born in Norway. So it was Sigurd, who had also built a barn for James J. Hill at Humboldt. The Barron barn featured iron stanchions, a concrete floor, and a hayloft with special equipment to move hay. It took 6 railroad cars full of lumber to construct this unique barn, and all this wood came from the lumber mills in the state of Washington. About 8 years after the barn was built, George and Elizabeth were heading toward retirement, with the sons taking over the operation of the farm. George had been very successful, accumulating a lot of land. So, the couple were financially well off. This is a 1940 photograph showing the Barron farmstead. The Barron house is highlighted in blue, and the L-shaped barn is highlighted in yellow. The main corral is shown by the blue rectangle, which was on the south and east sides of the barn. This would have provided shelter from cold northwest winds during the winter. For the horses, there was a pasture to the west of the L-shaped barn that had a watering hole. The horses could also be rotated to 2 other pastures just to the north. For the cows, there was another corral to the east of the L-shaped barn. Just to the east of this corral, the cows had a large pasture that extended all the way to the Red River. The Barron farm looked much different when this photograph was taken in 1954. The L-shaped barn is again highlighted in yellow. The owners of the farm at this point no longer had livestock, but may still have been cutting hay on the large cow pasture. Large shelter belts of trees appear to have been planted on the north and south edges of the farmstead. This is the Barron farmstead in 1966, with the L-shaped barn highlighted in yellow. By this point, it appears the old cow pasture has been turned to farm fields. This is a Google Earth image of the farm from 1997. At this point, the original Barron house is gone. Finally, this is a Google image of the L-shaped barn in 2024. The land around the original Barron farmstead is now owned by the North Dakota Game and Fish Department and has been returned to grassland. The colors of the various grasses and wildflowers are beautiful. The majestic old barn still stands, but it may not last much longer. I hope you enjoyed this video on the Barron Barn of McArthur, North Dakota. If you like old barns, check out my other barn videos, which include the Schumacher Barn, the Fossen Concrete Round Barn, the Zanger Barn, the Scone Barn, Farm Beautiful, and the Kirk Farmstead. That concludes the video. Make sure to check out my other YouTube videos, and my primary website at mnbricks.com.